Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with the child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes! Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Link to Literacy's third annual Wordstock event will be at Antelope Park on Saturday, August 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a community book swap festival with fun for the entire family and for all ages. Enjoy food trucks, kids' activities, a reading corner with celebrity narrators, including Brian Helton, President and CEO, Director of Parks and Recreation, UNL athletes, and more. And of course, free books for all kids and adults. Go to linktoliteracy.org to get the full story and then make your plans to attend Wordstock.
Tune in every Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. for the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters. Sit back and enjoy listening to Dr. Chatters discuss real stories involving struggle, inspiration, and real-life experiences with special guests and insights. Remember, the higher the pressure, the greater the lift. It's the Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters every Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Just Harrison Arens going to go solo with you guys for another hour before we get to some ticket replays, best of the ticket replays. We'll give you guys at least some more content there to keep it local. Again, still working on getting that Royals signal, but in the meantime, we can give you updates. Currently, your Kansas City Royals still up 3-1. Just ended the fourth inning right now. Royals were able to put up 2 in that third inning. And now moving on from the fourth inning, both going 0 in that one. So should have the start of the fifth inning coming up here shortly. And again, they are up 2, current score 1-3. All right. But that being said, there's still plenty to talk about Husker football over the weekend. Obviously you had another scrimmage coming up here. Matt Rule talked about that. And then on top of everything else, we got him in a pretty good mood after fall camp was really coming to an end here. So we got Matt Rule, and he had plenty of things to talk about. And the one that I just want to get out of the way is the alternate uniforms. This has always been a hot subject. I'm never certain why. I shouldn't say never certain. I understand the tradition, and that is the college football uniforms. But you get to a place where you're so trapped by tradition, you're going to fall a little bit behind in terms of the cool factor. I know it sounds really dumb, but Matt Rule explains it. I mean, the players love the alternate uniforms. And if you don't like the record in the alternate uniforms, like, you just can't be foolish to the point to where you think, well, we wore white today, that's why we lost. It wasn't our effort. It wasn't, our crap tackling that day. It wasn't our lack of focus. It wasn't anything we did. It was the color of the uniforms we wore. It's always been ludicrous. Oregon had a great season last year. They went undefeated. They wear lots of different fancy uniforms. That's their whole deal over there. In fact, is they do wear such crazy alternates. Didn't matter. Those guys won every single game in the regular season. And in the postseason, they didn't wear their alternates and they lost. So the uniforms play no part. That is one of the worst arguments I ever hear about why we can't wear alternates, is because we have a bad record in alternates. When we started wearing alternates, that was the demise of Husker football in itself. Not because we started wearing the alternates. That's because, I think Ndamukong Suh, I'm not sure how far back you have to go. That's when we finally broke in to the alternates in that Bo Pelini era. And then it was fine. But then after Bo Pelini, we all know how it went. So obviously that alternate uniform record that hasn't been around that long really started to take a hit, because we weren't winning a lot of games, alternate or regular uniforms. So it's a bad stat to bring up, because I can just point to all the regular season games we lost that year and just say, yeah, we weren't winning a lot. Odds are that didn't matter what we wore that day, we weren't going to win a lot of games because that's what the records have shown. So they are wearing the all black. Well, I shouldn't say all black, black and white. Pretty simplistic. I'm not going to say mundane because sometimes I think simplicity looks best. And I think that's exactly what these are. It's an homage to the black shirts. I don't know why we have to be ashamed to wear alternates that represent the black shirts. I understand if our defense looks terrible while wearing those uniforms, that can feel a little offensive. But for the most part, I like the idea of having an alternate and not being too scared to kind of go for one. We saw, was it last year, 2 years ago, where we wore just the exact same uniform, but in homage to the Huskers year one back in the day where they had that little bit of blue, we had the tiniest bit of blue outline around the numbers. And that was the only difference from the entire thing. If you were a player on the field, you had to squint to notice. If you're a fan in the stadium, you didn't notice at all. And again, it was just boring. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it at all. If you're going to do it, though, you might as well go far enough in to where you can tell there's a difference. And I think Nebraska sometimes gets trapped by the tradition of everything that, although tradition is what makes Nebraska great, it doesn't have to be the only thing that we can ever be known for as tradition. And to Matt Rule's point, we can look cool sometimes. Like, it's not a crime for the guys to look in their own eyes cool, especially if they're working hard for it. That's what I'm going to say on it. You can hear from the coach himself, Matt Rule. And again, the idea is hopefully it's a night game, but we'll get to rep out the all black uniforms and then what supposedly may be a night game versus USC at home. Now, the game's going to be at USC, not at USC, versus USC at home. The question is still whether it's going to be a night game, but I just think that'd be electric. You know, the fans dressed in black, the players wear black. It's a night game. We're playing California, the University of Southern California for that matter. Sounds like a great idea. But here's Matt Rule himself, the man, talking about the alternate uniforms and really the mindset behind it.
We have a right to do cool things. Like, we have a right to, like, at the University of Nebraska, we have a right to do like what other schools do. Like, we have a right to go out there and, I mean, my first year here, they already planned it. They had an alternate jersey my first year. It was like the Northwestern game. It was 100 years. Remember, it was just a blue outline. And the guys were like, Coach, can we please wear blue gloves? And I remember it was like, I remember I went to Trev, like, can they wear blue gloves? And guys were like, you know what? Guess what? We won the game. You know, and we won the game because of how we tackled and caught. And, you know, we blocked a field goal for a touchdown. We stopped them in the red zone. So I think Dylan's saying is, you know, it's going to come down to how we play, especially versus a great team like USC. You know, we're anticipating that being a night game. There's nothing worse than black jerseys in the middle of the day, in my opinion. So if you have a night game, you have black jerseys. It's a couple days after Halloween. Like, you know, we're anticipating based on being told that it should be a night game. Still, it's an 11-day pick, but I mean, I think they're thinking that. So we said, you know what, like, if we're going to do it, and my hope for us is I don't want to be a team that's like, you know, it's not our thing. Like, we're an iconic look. So I want us to have like that look most of the time. But I think once a year we should step out and do something in all black. I mean, we are the black shirt defense. I mean, like when I was at Albright College, our defense wore black jerseys because of Nebraska. So I think black is a little bit within our DNA of who we are historically. So once a year, maybe we go out there and we do a different black jersey every year. And, you know, all of us who buy our Terex coats, instead of having to buy we can buy the black Terex, you know, coat, and we can wear the parka when it's colder out. So I think it's really fun. I think it's cool. The thing that I'm learning is as I go out in recruiting, like the kids I'm recruiting all across the country or right here in Omaha, they don't care about, like, they want like a cool brand identity name, and they want to see stuff like that. So they come on the visits, they want to put those things on. So I have to mix like the iconic nature of what we do with some cool swaggy stuff. So, you know, if they want to wear, you know, something different now and then, so be it. But what I won't do is talk about, well, the record in it and the history in it. I want to know in alternate uniforms, I think, right? Want to know. So, and I'll take it. Want to know in anything, I'll take. So
there you have it. Just his explanation of those alternate uniforms. And, you know, here's a little bit more on it. Matt Rule on the players loving the jerseys.
The kids, they downplayed it. They're very excited about it. Like, they try to come up and be very professional, but trust me, they ask me about this every day. This is the world that I live in, which is a good world. So they want to feel good walking out there. And so go buy your black jersey.
There you have it. Like, it's just a really simple thing. And I think there's ways to do it without giving a middle finger to tradition. And to my mind, like, that's all Matt Rule's doing here. Once a year, you put on the black uniforms, homage to the black shirts. And this way, you're also not keeping it too crazy. I do like the idea of once a year, you put on the black, and maybe there's like some minor variations in it. But again, when you go to Nebraska, we can all talk about this. I'm sure everybody has like the worst alternate uniform. And unfortunately, it feels like we have a lot more worst to choose from than best. The best ones are the white. I think that was a great year. Yeah, another year where we had, once again, just simple black end, black stripe, white helmet. I think we had the black shirt on the corner. That was another good one. Unfortunately, it didn't work out well. That was a game where I think Luke McCaffrey got his first real run at quarterback. Might have been versus Rutgers at home. But you went to a place where, with Nebraska football, we've tried so hard to mix in tradition with our alternate uniforms that they just look uninspiring, to say the very least. The year where we just faked mesh, we made small patterns, little dark patterns that made it look like mesh from far away. It didn't look like mesh at all. I mean, it just looked like bad jerseys. And that's the unfortunate trap of what felt like Adidas football's kind of been, I don't want to say forced into, but maybe felt like that's what we wanted. That's what we were asking him for. But like, that's my whole point. If like you're going to do it, then do it. If you're not going to do it, be so scared to break away from tradition, just put it in the drawer and forget about it. But they kept choosing to do it. So you might as well go all in a little bit. And when I say all in, it doesn't mean you got to pull the Oregon or, the crazy Maryland helmets that they brought out that one year and then continue to use them as the regular season helmets. Just means once a year is not too much to ask for in terms of you wear different uniforms. You wear the all black uniforms, black, white, homage to the black shirts. Do it at a night game. And I do think that's a fun idea, a few weeks after Halloween. And he mentioned that the players in today's era, whether it's the worse or better about college football, or maybe one of the uglier sides of it, you could say, but I mean, the uniforms, like kids like the alternate uniforms. It's cool. It's when you go on visits, now you see it all the time. These kids are taking pictures in the gear that they are thinking about going to the school to. And clearly the black uniforms have a good selling point with the kids and the youth. And when I say kids, obviously, we're talking depending on what age, if they're high schoolers, or at that point when you're at the college level, a young adult, if it's junior, senior year. But the people love wearing that stuff. It's fun. You break out of the norm for a little bit. I can tell you for ourselves, in basketball, in football, even at the high school level, there were certain jerseys you liked wearing more than others because you thought they were cooler. It's not true, but you hear the homage all the time. You look good and you look good, you feel good, you play good. That's obviously not true. You play based on your effort out there, not how you look like. But there's a reason why that homage stuck around is like kids are into that whole thing. The era I started growing up, that's when kids were putting on like the armbands around their biceps for no reason at all other than they thought it just looked cool. Might look ridiculous at times, but that's what the kids are doing. And if that's an easy selling point, then absolutely go ahead and do it. And in today's era of NIL, I think Matt Rule's kind of hinting at it. It's more merchandise. I'm not saying you guys need to go out there and buy everything black shirts wise, but if you have the money and you like that idea, I think me personally myself, if I see some more of those black alternates and every year they'll kind of have some different versions or just some standalone that year in, year out always kind of fit the blend. Like knowing that you're going to have one night game, well, I shouldn't say night game, one game a year where you're going to wear that blackout, there'll be a lot more merch for it because that will become like a signature as far as Nebraska goes. It's like, yes, we have an alternate, but it's not the ever-changing alternate that it was in the past. It is a black alternate every year. And then it also makes the idea of like, if you want to do the blackout with the fans, knowing that you're going to have one black jersey game a year makes it a lot easier to make that happen. The Penn State whiteout games at Happy Valley don't happen because once a year they wear all white. Obviously, I can't even say because it's not like the Penn State team does, but it's just known within the tradition. That's the gear they have on hand. That's what you do. Here at Nebraska, there's not like a ton of people that have just like solid black Husker football shirts. Now, they have plenty of like black Husker football gear, but just straight black. You don't necessarily see a ton of it. And you especially don't see a ton of it unless it's, kind of from a unique mom and pop shop or from the local stores we have down here in Lincoln that are straight homage to the black shirts. Obviously, you can go buy them online, but what you're mostly going to see is the classic red and white, or I should say scarlet and cream colors of Husker football. So I think it's just a great idea. Like me personally, love the idea of that. Would be giddy to go to a night game. I would love to know what that looks like in Memorial Stadium, an all black, whatever. If not, you're going to have some standouts where they only got a white shirt or a red shirt, but you're going to have that blackout. Like to me, that's going to be awesome. And if you get that on a night game, you get that where you're playing USC at home, like that's going to draw a ton of eyes to your university. Maybe not the adults, but the young kids are going to see that. And to Matt Rule's point, they think it's cool. And sometimes it's just that simple. We don't have to make an entire lecture out of it, like I did for this segment. But I do think we get carried away in tradition. Tradition is a great thing. It does not have to be everything. There's always room for growth. The balance is not forgetting tradition. So I think that's what Matt Rule's kind of hinting at there. Like, knowing that he's the Nebraska, not everyone always agrees with wearing alternates, especially knowing, which again, I agree with Matt Rule. I think it's kind of pointless to point out the record when we haven't been doing alternate jerseys for that long. And it would make sense that knowing that this has probably been the worst 20 years of Husker football, that our alternate jersey record stinks, because our record from that time, a lot of it's not very good, to say the very least. That's all I got on Rule, really, was that alternate uniform discussion. I think it's a great idea. And again, for any of you guys who are still thinking about what Husker game I want to go to, if you got an option to go to that USC game, might be a good one to not just go to a game that matters later in the season, but go to one that's going to have a unique pop to it with those alternate uniforms. And then if we do go, with that blackout crowd, if everyone's wearing the black gear, I think it'll look really sweet out there. Again, I think it's a great selling point for the University of Nebraska, especially if we do get that night game slot. You only get a lot of eyes on it. Here's more, though, on Terry Braden. We'll kind of go a little bit more in Braden, and then we got plenty more from the other coaches who spoke today as well. About 5 minutes left here. So here we'll do this. We'll talk about Terry Braden. Again, he's coming from Kansas City. So we have just some quick quotes from him talking about transition for him, Kansas City to Nebraska.
Football is football. And I said in my first press conference, Kansas City has great football, but being in Nebraska, they love football, which I love. And I think is a special place.
There you have. He's just very short, blunt, and honest through a lot of this interview. I'll be honest, like, a lot of these quotes aren't very long. He is quick to the point, but he has some stuff that is interesting. He talks about, guys needing a move and what that sounds like. And again, I'm going to play these. They're very straight and to the point, but you kind of hear his philosophy on how he's coaching his defensive linemen.
Yes, I really believe a guy has one move. You got a go-to move, counter in the power. But we're really focusing on one move. What's your move? Have a plan, get to the quarterback. But the main thing is about finishing.
There you have it. Here's more on it.
Club rip. Learn from Joe Cullen. Coach Rule will tell you that. It's all about club rip. We're from the same tree, and I'm real big. Starting with one move, club rip, getting to the quarterback.
So yeah, he says that a lot. And I know they're like 10 seconds, but he continuously talks about in this entire, I shouldn't say entire, significant chunks of it, of guys just needing to master a move on that defensive line. And he obviously asked him, what's the best move? And that's his answer. Club rip, just super simple. And again, it works. If it works, it works. You don't need to change it up. He really goes on, like, if a guy has one move and he can master that move, then you can kind of build off that, but you need that initial move. And then he just talks about finishing. And that's where he really wants his guys to continue to thrive at. And he has been throughout the presser, talks pretty confidently about the guys. He was very careful on dropping specific names, and the depth chart does a good job about that, keeping most of that coach speak. But again, he just simplifies it. You need one move to get through, and if you can master that move, you don't need a million moves to get through. If you watch, a guy like Aaron Donald, you're going to see that a lot. It's not like Aaron Donald's mixing out a massive bag of tools out there. He just does what works for him, and it works for him a lot, and he's really good about that. So that's kind of like a dumbed down version of it, but it's the right version. Whereas when he's teaching these guys, he wants to find what their strength was, build off of that strength, and then just figure out how to finish with it. So he talks about that quite a bit. I'm not going to play all of them because it's kind of repetitive after a certain point, but just interesting to hear, him from needing to have that move to get past defenders and not overcomplicating the entire thing. Here's more on him, just guys' ability to get to the quarterback, but more importantly, being all-around players.
I've seen a lot of great things from Will being a defined move, getting to the quarterback, rush area, move area, and then about to finish from Keona Davis, Van Papa Cam, moving inside to outside. I've been seeing a lot of great things from these guys. First of all, getting off the ball, rushing the passer, and just having shocking effort.
So yeah, but more on just the guys. Again, really throws a lot of names out there. We'll play a few more for him. Here's him on Jalen George, bringing some energy as well, coming off his injury.
Jalen is an energy giver. When he was injured, he gave energy to the room, motivated guys. And now that he worked his butt off with Drew and coming into on the field, he's doing a good job basically taking a lot of football risks because he missed a lot of football, but he's doing a good job running to the ball, getting in game shape, because that's the hardest thing by sitting out that long. He's doing a good job, and he has pass rush ability as well. I'm very excited to see where Jalen and George go and help us interior.
And now here's him on Winari being bought in and having a high ceiling.
One, he's buying in. And then two, he has a high ceiling. You know, I'm always going to speak positive. No matter what through the challenges, he has a high ceiling, and he's going – me as a coach, as a coaching staff, I have to get him and get everything out of him to get to that ceiling.
So you kind of getting this a lot, but he's – the way he talks, and, Butler talks about this as well. They got some guys that they feel good about, a lot of different guys on this team, from the linebacker room to the defensive line, which I still think is the biggest question mark. And I think it'll take some time before we can really identify the guys they have the most trust in. I think it'll take next week, Thursday versus Cincinnati. And then I think we'll also see matchup situation where there's going to be some games where we maybe see X player more than we saw last game. And you get the same thing from Butler in terms of they feel like a lot of their strength, and even Simpson as well, is they have a lot of guys that they feel like they can rotate in and out based on situation, really matchup wise, depending on the game. And you're hearing that echoed a lot. And the defensive line, to me, is probably one of the better things, because I think it was the biggest question mark for everybody heading in here. You don't write off Ty and Nash easily. It is a fair thing to concern yourself about, knowing how impactful those guys were. Again, I don't know if we win the Boston College game without them. I generally don't. That game kind of started off ugly. It was promising and then bad. We threw an interception pretty early in that game just for them to turn it right back over to us. But if that doesn't even if that doesn't happen, their team really fell apart, just because anytime they needed to drop back and pass to give themselves a shot, Ty and Nash shut it down. So Nebraska's offense didn't need to do a whole lot to get on top. And then once they did, they could hand it off to Ramir Johnson, who was the hero that day, and just kind of eat clock. And to be fair, it wasn't the greatest field up there in New York. It was pretty muddy and wet. But at the same time, Ty and Nash, like, they were a big part of why we won that game. I honestly, without them, I don't know how that game goes, knowing how our offense struggled on early. I think we'd find a way to bounce and win that one, knowing that without those two, I think we could hold on to a lead. But the point was, those guys just didn't give Boston College a chance towards the end. And when it was time to put the foot down, those guys made it possible. And they did that a lot of times throughout the year last season. So to hear multiple names, and I think some of it's coach speak, he's not giving you sort of like really indication on depth chart. It gives you hope that at least, even if it is coach speak, that there's a lot of guys that are developing in the right way, to where if we have situations where we got to move some pieces around, we can do so comfortably without worrying how he's going to hold up in there. So with that being said, we got to throw it to break. We'll get to we'll get to Phil Simpson and then Butler next on the other side. So don't go anywhere. Plenty more coaches to talk about for Husker football, and more on that defensive side of the ball in particular. Harrison Arens going solo for 2 more segments here. Don't go anywhere. Talk to you guys in about 5 minutes.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Nebraska Veterans Aid is here for veterans and dependents facing unforeseen financial emergencies. Get assistance with food, fuel, shelter, clothing, transportation, and even funeral and medical expenses. If you're a veteran facing a financial emergency, apply for Nebraska Veterans Aid through your county veteran service officer. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/NVA. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
In Nebraska, we show up when friends need help. We check in on our neighbors. That's why it's important to know the warning signs of suicide. If you have a friend or neighbor who's withdrawn, stressed, agitated, or talks about suicide, find out how you can help. Call, text, or chat 988 for 24/7 support. You have the power to save a life. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
In Nebraska, we show up when friends need help. We check in on our neighbors. That's why it's important to know the warning signs of suicide. If you have a friend or neighbor who's withdrawn, stressed, agitated, or talks about suicide, find out how you can help. Call, text, or chat 988 for 24/7 support. You have the power to save a life. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in segment 2. Going solo here, at least for this hour, and then we'll play some best of the ticket going forward. But nonetheless, keep it on the defensive side of the ball for Husker football as we are officially 1 week away. It is crazy to think how soon Husker football will be playing here. But again, as I mentioned it before, I was talking with Rudy. Shout out to everybody heading out there to Arrowhead to support the Huskers, but also, not Chiefs fan, it is one of the better stadiums out there. Arrowhead Stadium, it's, by my mind, easy to get to, easy to walk around in, not a pain in the butt to get out of. So there you have it. There's my grade on Arrowhead Stadium. I enjoy it quite a bit. But here is more on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about it with Brad, and I don't give a ton of short-worded forums, but what you mainly got out of that was depth, really not highlighting anyone in particular, but kind of showing the depth in the development of the room as a whole. Regardless if that guy was a freshman or a 5-star, it's kind of hard to pick and choose where he was coming from in terms of who was sticking out. But you get this from Simpson as well when he's talking about his linebacker room, is the depth there and the ability to move guys around. So here's more just on the depth of really the linebacker room on top of the defensive line.
Yeah, I'll tell you what is exciting because it's defense. You know, we have a lot going on, a lot of movement, and just kind of like working in space a lot of times. So for us, we have the ability to rush the pass and do different things, having different guys on the field that just kind of like, that might, right now we're just working with the Jacks on the field, but obviously game by game that kind of run its own course. But in reality, just that room itself has a lot of flexibility. Everybody have their own natural traits, and things that they're really good at. So it's all about, week after week, just looking at who can we exercise best, to help service the team in that upcoming week. But overall, it boils down to a room full of guys who all have one common goal, but they all have different traits to be successful. So it's a pretty good room to have in terms of just the versatility.
So you have it. He, once again, goes on that and also talks about, the need to be all-around player. Got to stop the rush quarterback, got to stop the run. And you got to play as a complete unit, become a complete player. It just makes you really want to see what they're talking about at this point. Hearing about all the guys that they're able to mix in and out of. Is John Butler capable of taking over Tony White with all the additional help that I think Matt Rule's brought in for him? I think Phil Snow being the most obvious one in that. And then Terry Braden, I think, is a huge, I don't want to say steal, but just a great move, great hire from the staff as well. I've been high on him the entire time. And hearing him in the interviews so far, nothing's changed. Easy to say all the right things when the bullets aren't flying yet. And so far he's done that. You panic more when the bullets aren't flying and they somehow manage to say the wrong thing. You hear that every now and then. Luckily for us, again, coach speak, take it for what you will, but you're just hearing them talk highly on multiple guys, not just one. Here's Simpson on Dason McCullough and his development. I'm being more than just a pass rusher. Again, kind of talking about the need to be an all-around player to make sure that you can stay out there for series, not just third and longs.
Well, right now, I mean, he's made a great amount of progress. He's working at it every day. And I tell the Sons, tell everybody else in that room again, you're here to be a complete football player. We don't come into Nebraska to be a pass rusher. So you come here to play football, learn to stop the run and everything else that comes with it. Pass rushing is just part of the game. No different in special teams, offense, defense. It all correlates together. So he's doing a good job at just identifying everything else and just overall develop his game.
So you have it, more on just developing the overall game. And again, this one from Simpson, linebackers coach over at Nebraska, and more. Make sure you stop the run so you can rush the QB. And the last one I got from Simpson right here.
I think overall as a group, we're doing a pretty good job at working. I mean, I think the everyday process, just whether it's the install or just the communication aspect and just getting comfortable with side of the ball, guys in the room doing a good job of working together. And we talk about move detail a lot, so we're just talking about just a selfless act and just continue to work together. So guys doing a really good job of kind of just supporting each other. And then in terms of rushing the quarterback, I mean, it's just a percentage of what they're here for, right? You got to be a complete ball player. You got to earn to be able to rush the pass on third downs. We got to stop the run as well. You got to be able to defeat pullers and snipers coming back. So it's an all-around game. Of course, we work pass rush ability, but it's also just being a complete player.
There you have more on the complete player, and which is the right thing you want to hear. Again, I like that quote in there. You don't come to Nebraska to be a pass rusher. You come to Nebraska to be a football player. Again, harping on being that complete player. So although we are flexible in who we can bring on and off the field, if we need you on the field, you're not going to be out of your skis and just a stick in the mud when it comes to stopping the run, knowing how to fill the lanes when needed and knowing how to go after the quarterback when they're in a desperate situation. You like everything you hear. I keep saying it, but we are at a point, I think, as Husker football fans, we want to see it. Although this year is more optimistic than most have been, not just here in the local media, but for anyone who watches Josh Pate, he puts them in their playoffs. You're I don't want to say this one. Barstool and Plays, what did you make of them? They're high on Husker football this year, even though that's more of a, I don't want to say hard breaking journalism, more of just an entertainment journalism. But nonetheless, the point is we're catching the eyes of people outside the state here. Joe Klatt, has been caught saying I can see 10 wins as a real possibility. Nebraska did get 23 votes in the AP preseason poll, not enough to make them ranked, but an improvement from last year nonetheless. A lot of people are buying into the Matt Rule year 3. And there's not like there's no reason to. Dylan Rail not being a true freshman is a reason to buy in a little bit more than last year. I do think that the help we got from the wide receiver room is a big deal. We lost McGuire. I think a lot of people weren't sure if that fit was going to work anyways. Just a young guy. Doesn't mean he can't do it, but at that point in his career, he was still pretty young. I know he had that relationship with Matt Rule with the Carolina Panthers, but a young coach nonetheless, and he's getting his opportunities elsewhere. Not like he was terrible. At the end of the day, though, maybe it wasn't the right fit here in Nebraska. So you do like maybe some of the upgrades that we are getting, not just at the player level, but the coaching staff as well. And we talk about all the guys that we brought in here while still maintaining onto Ed Foley and Satterfield, two of the coordinators whose jobs got replaced. They're still on staff. And then you bring in Phil Snow, who I've talked about many times before, of I think really just being the overseer on defense and make sure those things are all running well, as well as just being that associate head coach to let Matt Rule be more in that CEO role, which I will say that seemed to help Ryan Day a lot. He was more in that CEO role than it felt like previous years with the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we saw them go ahead and win a national championship. Even Saban, when he has those certain coaching rosters back in the day where he really in his prime was taking that CEO role, was like when he spoke, it was a gravity shifting situation because he'd get on you, but it was coaches and players alike. You kind of need that. You need almost that CEO role to keep the coaches accountable. And it's hard to keep the coaches accountable when you're so locked in on coaching the players yourselves. So I feel like we'll see this more and more, but that CEO version of the college football coach, where these staffs are getting so big that is becoming a realistic possibility. Like Tom Osborne back in his day, it was never, as much as you could say he was the CEO coach, for how small that coaching staff was, and every coaching staff around that era, you didn't have a ton of time to do everything else. And now today, it's almost essential because of what NIL has become and how competitive recruiting has become, and the portal being as fluid as it is, and knowing that there's going to be another school willing to jump on the opportunity and offer, $1,000 more, $2,000 or $10,000, $100,000. If we're talking about the cream of the crop players, $1 million more just to beat you out of your offer. So you need a coach who is going to be able to take a little bit more of that backseat approach, in my own opinion, because there is that much extra details on the side that you need to keep eyes and ear on. And even though he's not the NIL collective himself, he needs to be aware of at least what those guys are up to, what they're doing, what they have money situation-wise. Not that he can know the exact details of everything, but at least be in the loop of these are the players that are interested. We have time to get them for visits here, do photo shoots here. Brought the freaking bowl in there for a photo shoot. I mean, there's just a lot of these elements that were never part of coaching before that I'm not going to say play a major factor in coaching today, but they are another part of it that just takes away time. And that's why it's also great that Nebraska football has the facilities that they do now and kind of keep all those activities close together, from the nutrition to the practice itself, to the weight room, to the therapy, to the trainers, to the recreation, to the film room. I think all that stuff's right there in that training facility hub. And obviously it's not just for football, but a big part of that money went towards those football facilities. And obviously other athletes are using the nutrition tables as well. It's not like it's just completely red tape football players only, but you get the idea that I'm trying to make is it's very concentrated in one area. And it's really helpful for the football players who can get a lot of that work done and stay close to the harbor and not have to get too far away and not have to deal with a ton of distractions. The same thing for Matt Rule, who wants to keep eyes, ears on everything. I mean, Matt Rule's the type of guy that we've seen it before. He knows the training staff. He knows a lot of the trainers themselves, the therapy, whatever you want to call them, not the mental therapy, but just physical therapy coaches. And then he talked about with the grass fields, and he's talking about the knee injuries. I think those are all parts of college football today that we're talking about these it's billions of dollars that are within college football. And when you have that much money, the competition's only going to get that much fierce, and you kind of have to compete with it. And we've kind of put our money up, out there to build this blue blood back. And it is still blue blood. I know we went through Andy Staples of On 3 and he leaving Nebraska out of the blue blood somehow, but sneaking in Tennessee. Nebraska football is still viewed as blue blood. But, you can't just live on that forever. You have to put your money where your mouth is. And Nebraska's done that. So all that to say is that there is reasonable expectations for a significant improvement. Nebraska's put the money forward. They put money on recruits. They've clearly done a good job, in my mind, of maybe not this year's recruiting class, but certainly some of these upcoming years. We just got Pittman, 4 or 5-star, depending on what ranking you're looking at. I'd say a 5-star based on the average of what most of these sites have him. I know he's a native, but we weren't always landing those guys before. So there seems to be some belief that Nebraska's heading in that right direction. This year 3, everyone's sneaking Nebraska in there. I shouldn't say everyone. Well-known figures sneaking Nebraska in there as a college football playoff team. It's not just Kool-Aid, although we would be lying to ourselves to say it's not some Kool-Aid, as they did this year 1 with Scott Frost. We were ranked, and obviously we know we were never that team. You could argue that 3-win team, but I'd still say we failed to win games, so we were never that team. It's the pressure's on. You could equate this season to the most pressure Nebraska's had in a very long time. Year 1, you're going to get some room for relief. Year 2, you're still going to get some room for relief. Now, Dylan Rail's not a true freshman. Jeff Sims is not your quarterback. You know who these guys are. The only thing that's not there is Tony White. But otherwise, you've maintained and you've added. And you've added some really big pieces. And that's players, that's coaches, and that's facilities. And we're still not done. The stadium, we're hearing Dan talk about the stadium not being done with its renovations. Said not just the south side, but the entire thing. He quoted Northeast, West, South, the entire stadium for that matter, that he wants to put more money into, with the sale of alcohol being a thing now as well. I think that probably serves a purpose in it. I know, the possibility of getting rid of the benches is a lot of fans like that idea. It would cut down on the attendance, but when you hear Troy Dannon talk about renovating the entire thing, it's like, well, maybe they're figuring out a way to not just remove bleachers to make more comfortable seating, but figure out ways to add more seating. We don't entirely know what the blueprint is for that, other than we know that this university is still not done trusting that this thing is heading in the right direction. The money's on pause for a little bit, but they put a lot on this season in Matt Rule so far. And I'm not going to say wrongfully so. I think there's legitimate reasons to hope that we can turn it around. But, of course, it's got to happen first before we all celebrate and really feel like Nebraska's back. We'll find out more next week, Thursday. But with that being said, we do got to throw it to our final break here. One more segment on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Harrison Arens going solo.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top-quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Can be set in their ways, but they can also be quick to change their minds. Just 10 minutes can be enough to step back and rethink the life-ending decision of suicide. If you have a friend or family member who's struggling with depression, talk to them about temporarily storing their guns away from their home. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
They're too young to vape.
E-cigarettes are the most used tobacco products among youth.
They know vaping is dangerous, don't they?
The majority of youth who vape use flavored products, the kind designed to seem harmless.
If they were vaping, I'd be able to tell.
Many vapes are small, discreet, and resemble everyday items. Don't avoid the conversation. Talk to your kids about vaping. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired in association with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and the station.
Old School with Foreman and Orman.
Any tips for a dad who just volunteered to be a YMCA flag football coach less than a week before the season started because no one else had volunteered to coach the fifth graders up to that point?
Tylenol for your headache.
Put some in your cup. Put some in your cup, and make sure your contract is 1 year only.
Medicate, bro.
Frank Reich. Frank Reich at Stanford.
Yep.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, wrapping it up here. Got about 4 more minutes left here, and then we'll put it to some replays. I'll load up early break for you guys next. And again, our last update on your Kansas City Royals, leading up to right now 2-4, bottom of the 7th inning. And again, your Kansas City Royals just 2 games above 500. Your Rangers 1 game, not your Rangers, but the Texas Rangers 1 game below 500. And again, Kansas City Royals leading it 2-4 at the bottom of the 7th inning. With that being said, we're going to wrap up where we have been going the entire time with some Husker football. Again, we talked about the defense, linebackers, defensive line in particular, hearing a lot about the depth, not more individual players. Excuse me. And then, of course, really just the philosophy that you're kind of getting from Brad and in that defensive line room as a whole. He also talks about, I'm sure the guys will play it tomorrow if we don't get to it tonight, but just some of the feelings going back to Kansas City to play. Again, Terry Braden, his first opportunity being a defensive line coach, not just associate head coach with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Should be a cool experience. A lot of the Kansas City Chiefs players he coached. I'll also be at that game supporting him on that Thursday night. With that being said, though, what I want to talk about is just the defense. What are the defense's biggest challenges? We'll know about the defense with these games in my mind. First one, Cincinnati. I mean, it's first one out there. I don't think Cincinnati's a team to scoff at. I think right now the spread is still 6.5, which worries me a little bit. Not because it's a bad thing to have a high spread, but it seems like when we've had that, history has not been kind to us. Now, I'll say it's more about effort than it is pure luck, but that's just has happened. So 6.5, you don't want to overlook Cincinnati. It seems like a big spread. It's either people are way too high on Nebraska or they're right. Cincinnati is just going to struggle to find its identity, and that is a really tough game on the road for that. I mean, it's not on the road, but it is essentially on the road for Cincinnati. Like I said, that thing just kept moving in a more unfortunate direction for Cincinnati and a more fortunate direction for Nebraska. But, I mean, you just want to see it. First game, I know the spread's high. Can we actually live up to that, though? I mean, first one's first. Live up to the expectations. You'll see that game 1 versus Cincinnati, then Akron, Houston, Michigan. I think 4 games in, we'll have a pretty good idea of who this defense can be. Cincinnati will be the first test, a minor test, and then Michigan will test you with strength. Michigan last year had no business beating Ohio State and Alabama, except for the fact that they did belong in beating them through the trenches. And that's how they've done it historically. With Moore, it didn't change. The quarterback situation got worse, but now they have Underwood there, who is a true freshman. So maybe it's a little bit up and down like it was for Dylan Raiola. But at the same time, Michigan's strength is they don't have to ask their quarterback to do a lot. And they're in a better situation than what Nebraska was last year on trying not to put too much pressure on their quarterback. So I actually think Underwood will struggle, but he will have a little bit smoother transition than Dylan Raiola, because when you get to that tougher parts, the middle of the season, later part of the season, they can rely on that offensive and defensive line like they always have to really get them through some of those tough games. And that's going to go for Nebraska. You want them to force their true freshman into some tough throws. You want to force him on some 3rd and long. If we give him 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, I mean, he's good enough to where if he's not off kilter at that point in time, again, just looking at the star rankings, but in high school, if he's everything that he's supposed to be, if he gets to that comfortable level, I don't think we're going to see a true freshman quarterback. I think he'll be able to get comfortable at that point in the season. And again, with how Michigan operates, he doesn't have to feel the entire pressure of the offense needing him. I think the same way Dylan Raiola did. So again, if we can, that defensive line and those linebacker core and those DBs, which I think that DB room is probably the strongest room in all of Husker football right now. If those guys can play well and force Underwood to really be the leader on that team as a true freshman, I like our odds a lot more. Now ask him to be the true leader on that team, and his head coach is not there. And he's on the road, and Memorial's rocking. That's how we get Michigan in my mind. You have to bully them on what they do best. And unfortunately, that's not gone well for Nebraska. But if you can do it this year, again, you have a true freshman quarterback who's going to be feeling the pressure in a rocking Memorial Stadium on top of not having his head coach there to coach him through it. Now, there's going to be other coaches there to help him through it. But I do think not having the head coach there would be a bit problematic if we jump them early or if we just prove to them early that our defense is going to hold. And you're going to have to beat us with your offense throwing the ball, not just 3 yards in a cloud of dust. If we can do that, then you feel great about the defense, in my mind. Other games that are going to matter, I think USC. I mean, we talked about it. That one's a big deal. USC is just been a weird team. Good enough to produce Heismans, but not good enough to get to the college football playoffs or win their division in the Pac-12 or Big Ten. They are good enough offensively to scare anybody, but shaky enough not to ever feel like a true threat. And it's just kind of where USC's been. They're a unique team to try to judge and analyze where it goes south as often as it does for them. But you're at home. We talked about already. You're wearing the alternate uniforms. You're wearing the black shirt uniforms. It's anytime you put those on, I know I just said you don't play how your jerseys look. That is true. But if you look bad in those jerseys, people are going to say that. And it's because of effort, not because of the color. But if your effort lacks on the day you get to wear those black shirt jerseys, I don't know what to tell you. That should be the day where that defense has all the energy in the world. You need to play good in that one to make this black shirt idea feel good. That we can do this on a yearly basis. Let's have another win on those alternate uniforms and get rid of that stupid idea that we can't wear alternates because we have a bad record in alternates. If we win games, then we can wear alternates. We just forget about that. And more importantly, I do think USC, we lost to them last year. it's a good team to test yourself against. They've always been a pretty good system offensively. Maybe not as tough as Michigan. Different style than Michigan, certainly. They'll test you in the DB room more than they will in those front seven. Another good game, I think, for those guys to prove it that they can be one of those better elite defensive teams. And then, of course, Penn State. Penn State, can you hold them? Can you hold them and gives ourselves a chance? Because, again, I don't think that offense is absolutely crushing. It is a very good offense with how much they have coming back. There's no doubt about it. But their defense has always been the thing about Penn State that's more terrifying. So, again, if you can slow that offense down, you almost know it's going to be a battle to get points in that one. You have to play good defensively if you're going to have any sort of shot. You even saw that with SMU, who really didn't seem like they belonged out there, but that offense for Penn State was struggling. It took them a while. And to be honest, it was really the defense that eventually took over for them in the end. Their offense really didn't do a whole lot until late in the game when it was kind of all said and done with. But a big part of that is, you give credit for SMU. They gave themselves a chance with their defensive effort. And I think that's what Nebraska is going to have to do as well. We could talk about Iowa, but for Iowa, it's really special teams. Clean up the special teams, play good defense. Those guys are waiting for you to make a mistake. That's really a turnover and special teams battle than it is the defensive one. As weirdly as that sounds. If you can stop the run versus Iowa, you feel pretty good about your odds. That being said, that's going to wrap it up for me. Got early break loaded up for you guys next. Appreciate you guys listening. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep it local here for you guys on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.